Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back into the video. So I've got a few things to talk about again today. We're going to talk to start with about gold. Gold's been ripping. We're going to then talk about its relationship with crypto. We're going to talk about some specific cryptos I'm looking at and what I think basically comes next in the market. So to start with, I just wanted to look at this. Bank of England fully losing control from macro CRG, showing 30-year government bonds in the UK have gone up to 5.749, and there's a lot of percent, and a lot of people are saying, look, it's not just the UK with the problem. And I completely agree. I'm not saying it is, but what I'm showing is, at some point, probably the UK, the Bank of England will probably step in and buy back some of these bonds, which is like essentially, it's essentially quantitative easing. It's like yield curve control, which is just bringing more capital into the system, basically, because if they continue to let long end bonds run, they're going to have problems trying to get to try and create debt and stuff like this. So I think that we'll probably see something out the UK soon. I think France are in a similar position. They're trying to tap the IMF for a loan. Who knows? That's what I think. I think as a result of this, this is one of the reasons why gold is rallying so hard. I've seen other creators say that it's completely negative for crypto to see gold rally. I saw actually blockchain backer say it's over for Bitcoin if gold continues to rally. I'm not sure I agree. I think it's more bullish if we see the rotation from gold into Bitcoin, but I don't think it's over if gold continues to rally. With that being said, I've shown some areas for support if gold were to pull back, but on this breakout, after we've consolidated for such a long period for gold, I think an increasing volume on the breakout, yes, it could be shorts closing, he suggested, but I do think it's not over for anything just because gold's rallying. I think that we are potentially heading into a massively bullish period for crypto. I think that's my base case, and I'm going to show you Bitcoin's relationship to gold now. I can overlay it on the gold chart or I can overlay it on the Bitcoin chart, it doesn't matter. So what I'm just going to do first is just get rid of these drawings. So you've seen the support areas, just deleted them. We're going to add Bitcoin as a new price scale here. I'm just showing you the correlate. This is the weekly time frame. Okay, weekly time frame. We're going to bring Bitcoin down a little bit here so it kind of matches up. And what I want to show you here is, look, clearly, let's go from the lows. So clearly this cycle, let's see if, does it fit any better than that? I don't know. But clearly this cycle, although it's not directly correlated, they've trended in the same direction, both Bitcoin and gold. So I don't think there's an argument to say it's over for Bitcoin if gold keeps rallying, because essentially gold rallied above Bitcoin here in this period. Gold actually led Bitcoin from the lows in this period. And maybe gold is just leading Bitcoin on this next leg up. So I don't really understand the argument to say if gold rallies, Bitcoin's topped. I don't think that makes any sense. Maybe I'm missing something, but like I've literally just overlaid Bitcoin onto gold here, and we'll go onto Bitcoin and do the exact same overlaying gold onto Bitcoin. Let's just do that now. Here we go. Let's have a look. This is on the weekly again, and what we'll do is we'll take. Sorry, let's just get this sorted out. If we go from let's get full screen. Let's go for like the last cycle. We can take it from the lows, and we can go to the highs, or what we can do is we can match it up for last cycle from the lows to the highs, so roughly the same sort of movement. I'll just show you that. There's probably more accurate-ish. And then you can see, let's see if we can just move this out of the way without breaking everything. What you can basically see is, if you look here, yes, the size of the moves are different, but here you could almost suggest that gold rallied first, Bitcoin followed. Then you could say that Bitcoin led on the downturn, gold followed, pulled back deeper than Bitcoin, depending on how we obviously scale this. But then what you could suggest is either Bitcoin rallied first here, and then gold followed, or as I showed you earlier, if we just edit this to make, showed you on the gold chart, did gold rally first and Bitcoin follow? And I don't know what the answer to that is, really, because gold moved off the lows first, clearly, and then Bitcoin followed, and then gold did have a secondary pullback. So maybe gold's just been lagging Bitcoin a little bit here for these last few months. It's not very easy to show you because it keeps going off the top of the screen. Let me see if I can lock this. Oh, I can't, it's on full screen. So I'm going to lock this 1 second and move it all. No, I can't, it won't let me. But what you can see is from the lows, you could suggest that gold rallied first and Bitcoin followed, and then gold had a pullback, and then gold rallied again, and then Bitcoin followed to all-time highs, and then gold pulled back and Bitcoin followed, and then maybe gold is now continuing to go to set the all-time highs. Gold like absolutely ripping off the top of the screen here, so you can't even see it. But that's how much higher gold has gone, look, so far. And maybe Bitcoin's in this period, let me do that. Maybe Bitcoin's in this period where, maybe Bitcoin's here. That's basically what I think. And then gold's now going parabolic from that phase. Look, the point I'm making here is, I don't think there's an argument to say that gold rallying higher is the top of Bitcoin. But there is an argument to say that they do move inversely correlated in the short term, and in the long term they do have correlation. They move directionally in the same direction because people use them as a hedge against the dollar, one way or another, whether one's for growth and the other one's for protection or vice versa. But there isn't an argument in my eyes, as we've just proved to you on both gold and the Bitcoin chart there. On the weekly, there's no argument to say that if gold is rallying, that Bitcoin's topped. I can't see that argument anyway. So getting away from that and just saying like long-term trend, would be good to see if gold cooled down, if we saw that rotation into crypto. I've been debating that for a while, saying that I thought that was going to happen. I thought that gold was going to cool off at some point. It's held pretty strong and continued. So maybe we just chug along with gold when it's Bitcoin's time to expand as well. And I do think that liquidity is backing up that argument, especially on the daily time frame. Let's take us to the daily now for Bitcoin, because we have had some things change even in the last day or so. So looking at liquidity here, obviously above us is where the deep liquidity is. Nothing has changed in that respect. I still think that we probably head up to 150k plus based on this liquidity, and at some point, probably quite soon, we go to the 125, and I've been saying soon for a while, but I thought it was going to come earlier than it has. Realistically, this is just chop. We haven't really moved percentage-wise, so even since July, we've gone up 12% or 13%, and we've then come down from the highs 13%. We've literally just chopped about for 56 days, and it's felt awful because a lot of that chop has been downwards since mid-August, which is now nearly 3 weeks ago. But the thing I've said that something has changed is what we can see here is we're starting to see this liquidity dry up below us, meaning that people are closing long positions. Again, even yesterday we saw some of this liquidity dry up, meaning it's less likely that we come back and test these areas. And look, what we can see in the past is when this liquidity started to dry up below us, so we had all this liquidity below us before we moved out this range, when it started to dry up, it has kind of signaled that the next move up might be coming. So look, we drew this, a lot of this liquidity started to dry up here. When we started to pull back, it continued to dry up. If you just look, I don't know if you can see what I'm saying. So look here, but also look at price. You can see it continued to dry up during this period. And then we started to move on higher, just slowly. If we go back to the period before, this was like a really rocky period for Bitcoin. As we started to move up, we did have liquidity come in below us. Then we started to pull back into that area. Let's just zoom in here. We started to pull back here. Look, this is kind of like where we are right now in Bitcoin in a way, I'd say. We started to pull back here, and this liquidity, look, all of a sudden started to disappear and dry up, and then we started to rip up higher, 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 and the liquidity below us continued to dry. So I think that's a positive development that's just started to occur in the last day or two. Whether that means we're ready to move up imminently or not, I don't know. If we go down to the hourly time frame, I've been saying for a while there's liquidity at like 106k. And as you know, I didn't think we were going to take it, but now we've got this close and we actually wicked into it. I think it's more likely than not that we do just sweep this liquidity before we head on higher. What we can also see though is there's more liquidity being built above us on the hourly. We're starting to get a dense pool about 129, but we're also starting to get people going in short about 120 with their stop losses at 120. So maybe we see a wick down into that area and then a bounce. I do think it's more likely than not that we do take the liquidity below us now before we continue. Now looking at ETH, we're going to look at ETH on the hourly first. The liquidity below us is still pretty dense. It's building below us, so I think we probably imminently come down to 4,000-ish for ETH, which is 4.1, and then 4,000 is where the deep liquidity sits. So I do think we do have probably one more little push to the downside to come. But a lot of different altcoins do, like a lot of altcoins do look different, and I've shown you Cardano on the hourly. Cardano looks pretty different to ETH. Let's get this open and loading, if it will. Cardano, for example, all the liquidity pretty much sits. Well, it's on the 5 minute. Let me guys on the hourly. Sorry, let's have a sip of coffee. Cardano, for example, does have the majority of liquidity sitting above us, although it does seem that we have some liquidity now coming in below, but the majority of liquidity is above us after we've taken this downside liquidity, and that's the key here, is that we've swept that downside liquidity. And I'm going to show you XRP as well on the hourly. Let's have a look at XRP. Get rid of these. XRP has swept the red liquidity below us, and we only have red liquidity above. We could come down for a further sweep of these levels, especially if ETH and Bitcoin do drag down. But XRP's main liquidity sits above us, and that can't be debated. If we go to the daily time frame, XRP, the majority of liquidity sits to the upside here for XRP. Again, non-debatable. There is some liquidity that has been sitting here for a long time at 150, but I don't think we'll get that taken. Like, relatively, it's nothing compared to what we've got. Look, above us we've got dense liquidity. I think that's where we go. And if we zoom in realistically to where we are price wise, it just looks like so many shorts would get ripped if we started to push up towards even 370. I think you'll quite quickly then see 430, and then that's when you can start the next leg to the upside. I do think this is all just like compression price action, however you want to draw like this. This is just chopping about, and then I think at some point we see something like that and a continuation to the upside, and that's what I'd be looking for. So that's basically my thoughts technically on XRP and Bitcoin. I want to show you actually XRP ETH as well, something else that I've been watching recently. XRP ETH here is starting to look a little bit exciting for me. What we can see on the weekly time frame is us holding this support, which is previous Wyckoff accumulation in this zone, if you remember. And we've had quite a strong bounce off that support in the last few days. Yes, we've still got 4 days and 15 hours left on this weekly candle, but we also saw some bullish divergence come in at the lows on the daily, and a decent daily close yesterday, closing above the first basic swing high, or like the most recent high. So we've actually created a higher high on the daily for XRP ETH, supported by volume. This is pretty exciting looking chart here. The next key level is this area here at 0.0007 or 0.0071, and then we're looking at, is this the foundation for a reversal here for XRP ETH? Again, potentially with an ABC correction in here, following a completed, what I've been saying is a wave one, but the people are arguing different, so an ABC in there. I think that looks pretty bullish. Obviously very early stages, but let's see what happens. I think if we can start to get above this 7.1 and then start to maybe build a foundation and set off from here, or see some impulsive price action, and I think that could be coming. Again, we've shown the ETH structure to the downside. There's more liquidity, about 8% below us or 10% below us, and XRP has the most liquidity above us. Whether we do come down with ETH or not is a different question. Finally, I want to leave you with one little chart that I've been talking about quite a lot recently, and that is Doge. This chart is really messy, so I'm just going to get rid of that and just show you Doge over here on Velo, because it's just a cleaner chart. That's a nice looking chart, to be honest. I think Doge could be ready to rip, depending on whether we get some sort of push in the imminent future for altcoins, or what Bitcoin's going to do, or what crypto's going to do. I don't know, but it's not going to take a lot to see Doge get above these bull flags and then essentially start pushing. Recent swing pretty much, this is what I think is going to happen. Look, if we get above these flags, like we get a breakout here, you're obviously going to have to find some, you'll probably find some resistance here. And if we get that breakout though, then we're realistically targeting this level, which is this swing high there, and this high here, which is not accurate, but you can see what I'm trying to draw on. Let me show you. I'll just draw a line because I'm actually so awful at hand drawing anything. That will be attacking that level, and that level, they're the levels that we'll get once we get this break. And they're the last, well, there's one or two retracement levels above us. 702, 786 would be left above us. And a break of this level basically pushes us towards these levels. And a break of these, you've got this last area of resistance here, and then you should be making new all-time highs. So my first take profit target is in here for Doge at the 1.618 because of those reasons. I think we probably quite quickly break out of this bull flag when we start to get a bit of momentum, and then you're attacking these recent highs. If you break those highs, it's probably more likely than not that we do break all-time highs. Yes, you have some retracement levels left above us, but what we've seen is each of these impulses for Doge have got larger. So you would expect the next impulse to be larger again in a trending environment, which is what we're in. So that's essentially what I'm thinking there for Doge. And from where we are now, I know this looks really messy, I'm just going to get rid of all the drawings in a second, but from where we are now, like, that's a significant increase for Doge's market cap, 450%. And that's why I'm so bullish on it. That's why I'm so bullish. I just think that thing looks set up, and I could be wrong, but it looks like it's set up for a decent move to the upside. So with that, I'm going to finish this video, and let me know if you've got any comments in the comment section, any questions. If you did enjoy, please do hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with a friend. It helps me out, and it's free to do. Remember, nothing I say is financial advice. If you want to trade on any leverage, try my WEX or MEXC description in the comment section of this video, or the description section. What did I say there? I don't know. Anyway, need that second coffee. I'm half asleep today. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.